got questions, we got answers. The Last Minute Fantasy Scramble starts in 10, 9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Last Minute Fantasy Scramble. I'm K-Mac. We got Bud, we got Bobby, and we got a show for you. That's right, we have another Sunday matchup. Got a lot of 4 p.m. games today, a few 1 p.m. games, got some injury updates, and first we have Thursday night football. We had the Titans and the Colts in a interesting matchup. Bobby, why don't you go ahead and break down what you thought of how the Tennessee Titans played on Thursday night?
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting matchup, and Thursday night football, sometimes weird things happen. Look, the Colts have had a good defense. They've had a solid defense all year long, and it was showing again tonight. They kind of held all the Titans players in check. A.J. Brown only had one catch. He should have had a touchdown, but he kind of bobbled the ball. Tannehill, very pedestrian, didn't even clear 15 points. Derrick Henry did go over 100 yards. But once they fell behind by 2-3 touchdowns, they just took Henry out of the game, which I still don't understand. If you're paying him all that kind of money, and he is a capable pass catcher, I don't understand why they don't have him on all 3 downs. And if they actually did, I think that would make him a top 2 fantasy running back. But nonetheless, I'm not concerned about Tennessee at all. I still love their offense. I still love their team and their fantasy skill players going forward. For all those guys, people who dropped Corey Davis after his 0-point performance the previous week, we didn't recommend doing that because he's still a big part of this offense. He still sees a good target share, so he'll be fine, I think, as a wide receiver 3 going forward, as well as A.J. Brown. The only one I am a little concerned about is Jonnu Smith. He did save his day with that end-around touchdown, but he's just not seeing the targets in the passing game. He only had 3 targets last night or Thursday night, and so. That might be a little concern moving forward. But then again, you look at the tight end landscape and you kind of realize that there's not really any better options except for like those top 2 or 3 guys. So overall, I think it was more of a product of the Colts defense in that one.
And speaking of the Colts, Bud, what have you thought about how the Colts played on Thursday night?
I thought their defense was pretty amazing. It was definitely a sight to behold. It was nothing intense on the way of turnovers, but the block kick for the touchdown was pretty nice to see. They kind of pressured Tannehill in a very unique way. They got hits on the quarterback, even if they weren't full-blown sacks. They did have a couple sacks too, but the amount of pressure that they brought definitely kept Tennessee in check. And if you had Tennessee players, you kind of suffered for it. But on the other side of the ball, so the rushing situation is as clear as it could get when it comes to the hot hand, and that's something we've seen recently. And Wilkins couldn't get it going, and Jonathan Taylor couldn't get it going. So then it ended up becoming a Nyheim Hines day. He had 12 for 70, and he had a touchdown. And you could even tack on 5 receptions for 45 yards and another touchdown. A lot of people are downplaying the fact that Nyheim Hines, but every week he's getting the work now. So I think he's almost a surefire start, at least flex consideration at this point. But otherwise, you see T.Y. Hilton come back from injury. He didn't have anything to really, write home about, but he did have 4 for 40. So it was good to see him out there. But if you're desperate enough, you could keep him. I think he's droppable at this point if you don't have that many bench spots and you kind of want to bolster yourself for playoffs. But on the other side, waiver wire target, now that we've seen a little bit more of him, he got more work. Michael Pittman Jr. That guy's awesome. It was good to see him get going. He cracked 100 yards. He had 7 receptions. If you're a little wide receiver needy, that might be a guy that you might want to target. Otherwise, you didn't see a really big day on the rushing. Like I said, it was split. but Phillip Rivers had a decent day, cracked 300 yards. He threw to a lot of guys too, so that's kind of encouraging, especially for the tight ends. But I think only Nyheim Hines, probably Michael Pittman Jr. going forward, and maybe T.Y. Hilton are startable options on this team if you really need it.
Is Jonathan Taylor droppable?
I mean, I don't think that he's droppable. I mean, trade deadline just passed last night. If you're lucky enough to get rid of him and trade him to somebody who's interested in him, that would have been a good option. If you still have time to do that, I would do that. Otherwise, I mean, you could keep him on your roster because we know that RB pickings are slim, but I don't know that he's even really startable at this point. It's too. We've seen him not get going, and it's kind of aggravating because a lot of the so-called experts, I'm not saying I am by any means, but these guys were like Jonathan Taylor down the stretch, second half of the season, he has the best favorable like matchups, and he could get going. And it's like, bro, like this guy hasn't even like shook any tackles. He's barely getting going. And then Frank Reich is just, letting the other guys go ahead and start running. We even saw Jacoby Brissett with a rush. Like, what's the deal? I'm just saying, like, people hype this guy up. I'm kind of glad that I didn't buy into the hype during draft season. But if you were spending a 5th round pick on this guy and he's not turning up, man, like, what a letdown. I hold on to him just in case one of the other guys gets hurt, but just don't let him go to the waiver wire, especially in these trying times. But I don't think he's startable anymore.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell really who is. Nyheim Hines did show up with a amazing game, but is he even someone that you're comfortable starting week to week? But before we move on, we do have breaking injury news. The most notable one being TJ Hawkinson, of course. He did have some questions about his toe earlier on in the week. But great news to my fellow Hawk owners. TJ Hawkinson will be playing in Week 10 against the Washington football team. Any other guys who've been out for a little bit might be coming back this week? No, I think that's it. So let's move on. Oh yeah, Nick Chubb also is officially active for Week 10. That is good news for Chubb owners or people who happen to pick Chubb off of the waiver wire, because other people in our league may just have dropped him, even though we have multiple injured reserve spots. But all that being said, yeah, Nick Chubb is active for Week 10. Alshon Jeffrey active for Week 10. Others, Allen Robinson is still questionable for Monday Night Football. That puts you in a tough situation if you are an Allen Robinson owner. If you don't have any surefire starts ahead of him, you may want to try to pick up somebody else who may be playing Monday night. Other situations, Jerry Jeudy is expected to play in Week 10, and Noah Fant will be suiting up for Week 10 as well. Any other injury news or notes that you have, Bobby?
You covered most of them. A lot of these games are at 4 o'clock as well, so we might not know until like 2:30ish or so, closer to that time. But Dolphins running back Matt Breida is not expected to play with the hamstring, so don't count on him if you're planning on starting him. And then just a note, Hyde and Carson were ruled out yesterday afternoon for Seattle. And then Justin Jackson for the Chargers and David Johnson for the Texans aren't only ruled out for this week, but they're also been placed on the IR, which will keep them out for a minimum of 3 weeks. So just that may have implications there for anybody who might be affected. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm not really seeing any other significant injuries as of right now. Again, a lot of these games are at 4 o'clock.
I think another little surprise, Mark Ingram, he is expected to play. We're going to see what's going on with him, but I think there are more Ravens options when he's not playing than when he is.
Yeah.
He's just that offense is just sad to watch at times for something that we had hopes for being so exciting, and with Lamar Jackson and everything in the mix, and with what really is a very talented group of running backs, just to see them not be able to produce at all, it's hard to watch. But when they're all in there, you can't really play any of them, can you?
No, you can't. And I'm a Gus Edwards owner myself, so he was serviceable for me the last week, and then he was serviceable for you, K-Mac, the previous week. Good for 12 to 15 carries, and he gets the goal line work. But like you said, with Ingram playing, all three of them aren't playable. And I know we were talking about this earlier, K-Mac, maybe like a week or two ago. Like, I don't understand why they don't involve their running backs more in the passing game to make things easier for Lamar. Like, J.K. Dobbins is an excellent pass catcher. I don't understand why they don't have him, first of all, in a bigger role, and second of all, have him, set up some screens, catch some passes. Even Gus Edwards is a talented back. I just think Mark Ingram at this stage in his career is kind of just a guy at this point. He looks like more of a plotter, and I think last season he had incredible efficiency with all those touchdowns he got, and it's kind of coming back down to earth here. So I think that falls on the coaching staff, but I think there's a lot of issues in that offense that we talked about on the Tuesday show anyway, but just a thought there.
Yeah, and one more injury situation that I want to talk about. There was news this morning that Kenyon Drake is actually, he says that he's ready to play today. We'll find out more when it comes around, because they are playing around 4. So that news is still coming out, but he did tell Ian Rappaport that he is planning on playing in Week 10, so that should be interesting. I don't know whether that makes him startable just yet. I know I, along with many others, expected him to be out for actually longer, so seeing him, I think he only missed 1 full game, is actually a good surprise for Drake owners. As for Chase Edmonds owners, it's hard to tell where they're really going. This really seemed like it was a perfect opportunity for Edmonds to prove himself. Didn't do that great against the Miami Dolphins last week. Still, it feels that the top rusher there is going to be Kyler Murray. But I'd like to hear your opinion on what you think is going on, both with Drake and Edmonds, if Drake plays.
I think if Drake does play, he is going to be on a limited basis. I think he's going to be on a snap count. So I think he'll get a little bit less than Edmonds, but it definitely brings Edmonds down. Remember that when you have running backs that are in these situations, volume is usually a good estimate of actually getting these guys, into your lineups. And that's what has made Edmonds so beneficial, because we know that he's going to get the carries. And the last 2 weeks have been kind of, wishy-washy. I mean, we saw a lot of good things in the Seattle game, but he didn't really surprise anybody in the Miami game, but he had 25 carries. In that usually is a good decider of when these guys should be in. And going against the Bills running defense is not. I told you guys earlier today that they are not that good. So if Drake does play though, then Edmonds, that brings him down a little bit. I still think he's going to have some value today, because even when they were both playing, we saw Edmonds getting work. And I think he's going to get a little more because, Drake is going to be limited. But, I don't know how long-term this is going to affect, but it does seem that Kingsbury does like Edmonds more. But today, if Drake goes, Edmonds is still going to get work, just not as much.
All right. Now, a popular theme for a lot of questions this week is about the weather. Now, especially for the Houston-Cleveland game, as well as I've been hearing about the Jacksonville-Green Bay game, There is going to be bad weather, strong winds. Bobby, how do you think this affects you from a fantasy perspective? And I know with big stars, like you're going to start Aaron Rodgers, you're going to start these Packers guys who are going to go off today no matter what. But you start to get more questionable when it comes time. Like, are you willing to start a Baker Mayfield? Are you willing to start Jarvis Landry? Those kind of situations. What do you think the weather should play a factor into this?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of all depends, again, on, like, your situation, like, and the other options that you have. And if maybe you're deciding between a guy in one of those games and then a similar rated guy in, like, a dome game, that might be like a tiebreaker. But I don't think I don't think you should get super cute with it, especially since there's a lot of bye weeks this week and options are limited right now. I wouldn't go overboard and get super cute with it. And like you said, with your stars, like even with the Houston game, like you're not going to sit Deshaun Watson. You know, you're still going to start the Browns running back.
Wait, hold up. Are you talking Texans at Browns? If so, let's do this rapid fire style.
Here we go.
Go!
All right, Texans and Browns, like you said, with the potential wind here, but Deshaun Watson has been a top 5 quarterback since Bill O'Brien left. Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller have been top 10 receivers as well since O'Brien left. I would still fire them up as well, as long as Duke Johnson can be a serviceable RB2. As for Cleveland, get those running backs in, as Bud would say. I don't like Mayfield as a streamer. You can fire up Landry and Hooper as serviceable options.
All right, so this next game, Bud, we have the Lions. We have the football team. What do you got?
So on the I almost said red. The footballs, excuse me. So on that side of the ball, we like to see Gibson, but also McKissick is here. And Scary Terry, big day. I can't wait to use him, K-Mac. Thank you so much. On the other side, Kenny Galladay is out. So Marvin Jones, maybe. We know Hawkinson's going to play, and I expect a big game from Swift.
Yeah, you know it, Hawk. All right, Jaguars, Packers, Bobby, let's hear it.
Well, again, like you said, K-Mac, you're going to start the big 3 in Green Bay and nobody else. You're going to start Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Jones and expect them to smash. As for the Jaguars, key injury, Jair Alexander for the Green Bay Packers, shutdown CB is out, so you can roll out DJ Chark as a wide receiver too, especially with his connection with Jake Luton. And obviously you're going with James Robinson, but avoid everybody else in this offense.
All right, Bud, this next game, we have another divisional matchup. Eagles and Giants, go.
I always love these games. They're so fun to watch. Miles Sanders is back, so I expect a high production game out of him. I expect a good game from Dallas Goedert. I know he didn't get going last week, but I expect him to show up this week. Otherwise, Travis Fulgham is always great to watch. I'm starting him. On the other side, Giants, Slayton going to get going, and Devonta Freeman is out, so
Bucks,
expect
Panthers,
Gallman.
Bobby, go.
I'm still not sold on Carolina. I don't like the fact that they're just completely phasing DJ Moore, a very talented player, out of this offense in favor of Robbie Anderson, who's also talented, but I'm not a big fan of Matt Rule, not a big fan of Teddy Bridgewater. However, this is a fantasy-friendly offense. Even though the Bucs have a good defense, I still think you can roll out Anderson as well. Mike Davis should see a lot of work in the passing game to be a good option for you. As for the Bucs, I do expect a bounce back from Brady, the running game, as well as the Bucs wide receivers. You can fire
all right,
up
Bud,
all
we got
three.
Broncos, we got Raiders. Let's hear it.
This is going to be another exciting divisional matchup. We've seen Derek Carr really step into his own. He's played pretty decent this year. He's a streamable quarterback at this point, so that's an option if you need him. Josh Jacobs, I expect a big day out of him. On the other side, Jerry Jeudy is going to play, so we know he's going to be there. Noah Fant's going to play, so he's going to be there. So expect decent days from them if
Chargers,
Drew Lock can get
Dolphins.
going.
Let's hear it, Bobby.
Man, as a fan, you have to be excited for this game. These are two quarterbacks that are the future of the NFL. It's going to be an incredible matchup between those two. I do like the Chargers offense as well. Keenan Allen's a stud. Mike Williams, you can fill in as well. As for the running backs for both sides, it's both very murky and very potentially a committee on either side. As for the Dolphins, you can start Devontae Parker as well and Tua as a bye-week fill-in. But other than that, there's a lot of question
Buffalo
marks.
Bills, Arizona Cardinals. Bud, let's hear it.
Take your defenses and throw them out the window. You won't need them here today. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under is 55 points last I heard. So expect big days. Josh Allen's going to really light his guys up. John Brown's going to get work. Stephon Diggs is going to get work.
Yeah.
Your running backs are going to get work. Oh, man. On the other side, Kyler Murray's going to hit up Hopkins. That's going to happen. That's going to be a thing. Christian Kirk is probably going to have a big day, too.
Rams. Bobby, what do you got?
As Bud says, throw your defenses out the window. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The Seahawks have the worst secondary in the NFL on a historic pace. So even though I'm not a fan personally of Jared Goff and the Rams, I do like them a lot in this matchup, as well as the Seahawks, of course. All of those two wide receivers are studs. The backfields are a different story. I'm avoiding the Rams' backfield if I can. Seattle actually has been somewhat good against the run. And as for the Seahawks' backfield, it's going to be a committee. I'm telling you, DJ Dallas.
All right, Bud. We have the 49ers at the Saints.
Ew. Man. I'm not excited for this. Saints are going to have a good day, though. Drew Brees has Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is slowly working his way back. I expect him to have a good day. Alvin Kamara always has a good day. Might be able to see some work for the other receivers there, Manny Sanders and Traquan Smith. 49ers, it's muddy over there. I mean, if you have
Bengals,
to start them,
Steelers,
McKinnon
AFC
maybe.
North. What do you got, Bobby?
Well, I think Pittsburgh's offense is going to be okay. As for the Bengals offense, Joe Burrow, based on volume alone, can be worth a start. I love Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. They're both studs. Even against a tough Steelers D, you can still start them, I would say. And Gio Bernard will produce no matter what. He is a stud. He's going to be involved as long as Mixon is out. I think this could be a sneaky good game. The Bengals have been in every single game this season except their blowout in Baltimore. So I think they're going to put up a fight here.
Sunday Night Football. Ravens at Patriots. Bud, what you got?
You could see from the primetime lineups of what the expectations were for these teams coming into this season. And I'm not really super excited about this. If you have your startable guys on say, the Ravens, I would. Like Lamar Jackson, you kind of have to start. Mark Andrews, you kind of have to start. But otherwise, I mean, be careful of Hollywood Brown and the running back committee, as we talked about before. Patriots,
Monday Night Football. Vikings at Bears. Bobby, what do you got?
They say Bill Lazor's going to take over play calling. I still think it's going to be horrible. It's a disgrace the way they don't use Allen Robinson properly. I don't think he's seen a decrease in targets over the last 3 games. Nevertheless, still roll him out there. As for the Bears running back situation, I will avoid it at all costs. I don't care. They might even activate Lamar Miller. It's going to be a mess in Chicago. I disagree with John's pick about Cordell Patterson. As for the Vikings, the only guy you want to start here is Dalvin Cook. Temper expectations
and that
for Thielen
is
Jefferson.
Time.
Oh, man.
You can't
those 30
go
seconds were a
spoiling
little
breakout
quick than
player
usual
of the
for me
game
today.
quite yet. All right. So before we move on any further, Bud, was there any game that you wanted to take a little bit closer look into?
Yeah, which ones do we talk about here?
I think I know which one Bud's going to talk about.
What's that?
Your Bills and Cardinals, man.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was looking at. I had it pulled up. So, Josh Allen really has shown up in a big way. I mean, the Bills are looking to make it 4 straight this week, and I'm sure that breaks another record from the 90s. We're looking, the Bills are having their best start since like 93, and that was
Super
Jim
Bowls.
Kelly era. Shh. Anyways, so we know part of the reason that Josh Allen really balled out last week was because of his grandma. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but his grandma passed away the night before, and so basically all the Buffalo fans started donating money to Josh Allen's children's hospital in the Buffalo area, and they cracked as last I heard, $500,000 in donations in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool to see. And anyways, the receivers are looking awesome. We saw good things from John Brown last week. I'm running a Josh Allen, John Brown stack today. I'm so friggin' excited for it because that was my plan going in. I dropped John Brown in this league, and then I picked him back up after he was done being hurt. So it was really encouraging, and I need him this week because I have players on bye. So I'm really hyped to get that going. Cole Beasley, sneaky, slot player. And if some people have picked him up and some people are flexing him. So that's a good sneaky guy that is capable of getting like, he's not going to have like a crazy like 70-yard passing play, but he's going to get you. If you're in a PPR league, you're looking at anywhere from 7 to 9 receptions sometimes, and around like 90 yards and maybe even a touchdown. So he's really good. And then having Gabriel Davis, I don't think that Davis is technically a starter because he's touchdown dependent right now. But Josh Allen loves finding this guy in the end zone too, so he's really good to have. And Diggs, I think, is going to have a great game. Diggs is leading the league in receiving yards right now. I don't know if anybody knows that, but I'm going to put it out there. He's already at 813 yards. He's going to crack 1,000, maybe even more beyond that. And a lot of people slept on him. I really wanted him. I got sniped every time. I was ready to get him. But I think that we're going to see Diggs emerge as the receiving leader. It's going to be close between probably him and Hopkins at this rate, or maybe even Devontae Adams, who's been having a monster year.
Do you want to take this moment to say anything to the Minnesota Vikings fan base?
Thanks. I don't know. Like they hated on this man so hard, and then they were talking about it. I mean, they did turn the Diggs draft pick that we gave them into Justin Jefferson, so it wasn't all bad. But a few weeks ago, they were like comparing and like trash talking Diggs, and I'm like, they were comparing Justin Jefferson to Diggs. And it's like, okay, yeah, but now we see that Diggs is clearly the front runner and winning this race, and it's like, yeah, Justin Jefferson is great, but Stephon Diggs is a pretty good veteran, and he's already connected with Josh Allen. They have a great chemistry, and he's helping Josh Allen come to like a career year for himself. And I can't say the same for Kirk Cousins. Like, it's whatever.
I could listen to Josh Allen talk all day, but Bobby, was there any game that you wanted to take a little bit closer look into?
Yeah, real quick, talk about a little bit about the Seahawks and Rams game. I mean, it's really a fantasy friendly game in terms of the quarterbacks and the pass catchers here. The Seahawks throwing the ball as much as they do, and their defense being as bad as it is, their secondary. A lot of people I've heard questions about people with Metcalf concerned if Ramsey's going to shadow him. Ramsey hasn't shadowed a guy all year. He stayed on one side of the field. And even if he were on Metcalf a lot of times, DK Metcalf, I think, is still just physically superior. I think he's at that point now where, he could, it shouldn't affect him too much, really. I mean, he's done well against some other corners earlier this season. Stephon Gilmore in New England, to say one. So I would still feel very confident rolling him and Tyler Lockett out. But the running game in Seattle, I know we get a lot of questions as well because Carson and Hyde have been ruled out. But DJ Dallas, when he played pretty much all the snaps in Week 8 when Carson and Hyde were out, Travis Homer had a knee contusion, and he was not even close to 100% healthy, and they hadn't even signed Alex Collins in the roster. So it was kind of DJ Dallas by default. But as we saw last week against Buffalo, Homer played almost half the snaps, and they also sprinkled in Collins. So I think it's going to be a split, and I would definitely like a pretty even split. Dallas did get the touchdown, but he only had 7 carries. I would definitely be a little concerned with DJ Dallas, and I would definitely try to avoid that situation if you can. I know it's hard with how decimated the running back landscape is, but if I could, I would try to avoid that situation in Seattle in terms of their running game. But other than that, it should be a fun game for fantasy-wise through the air of both teams.
Yeah, and especially with those 4 o'clock slate of games, it makes you wonder, talking about that Sunday Night Football matchup between the Ravens and the Patriots, what happened to NBC's flex scheduling? Like, there's so many good games. Like, I would have loved to see Chargers, Dolphins, Bills, Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams, any of those 3 games in prime time. But, yeah, unfortunately, they're all going to be going on at once. Can only choose one. I know I will, well, unless you have Red Zone, but... I will definitely be watching that Chargers Dolphins game. Get to see that matchup between, and maybe this is biased, but get to see that matchup between Tua, Justin Herbert. I think that is going to be a very exciting game. Yeah, both of their running back situations too are very up in the air, and it's hard to really tell who's going to be able to get that workload for either team. Like Bobby said, I do expect a committee, and I wouldn't feel comfortable starting any of those guys this week. But Bobby, I know you have a different opinion, maybe out of necessity, but what are your thoughts on those running backs there? And any that you want to take a closer look into, any sleeper picks that I think you have?
Well, yeah, I mean, based on my roster construction in the league, I kind of have to. I'm chasing like upside, and so I'm going high risk, high reward with DeAndre Washington and Troymaine Pope as my starters. Just hoping that if they end up getting the majority of the carries, then they will pay off. But again, like you said, it's very murky. For Washington, in terms of his skill set, he actually is a very viable 3-down running back. He's produced in Oakland last year, and when he's had to fill in, he's capable of catching the ball as well. And we've seen with Brian Flores that he seems to prefer one guy. He had Myles Gaskin throughout the year, and he doesn't really seem to care about contracts because they paid Breida and Howard all offseason, or in the offseason, but Gaskin outperformed them, and so they gave the job to Gaskin. And I think Washington is as skilled or even more of a skilled player than Gaskin. And Matt Breida not expected to play. So that could be something there. Again, I'm not banking on it, I am banking on it, but I'm not like super confident. But I think Washington could have some value for the next 3 games or so while Gaskin's out. And then as for the Chargers, as we know, Justin Jackson's on the IR. Joshua Kelly has just been not very good at all. Even Anthony Lynn saying he's been running timid and he's been being phased out of the offense. The Chargers still do run the ball and are one of the top half teams in running, which I don't agree with. I think they should be just airing it out with Herbert, but Anthony Lynn was a former running back himself, so he probably insists on running the ball, and that's a whole nother story. But and then you got Kalen Ballage, who was promoted back to the practice squad, and now he's back up again in their active roster, but he's nothing special. And then so I think Pope definitely can carve out a role. He's produced. He had 8 receptions when he was healthy against Denver 2 weeks ago, and then he was out last week with a concussion, but he's going to play. He's most similar skill set out of those 3 backs to Austin Eckler, so I think they're going to definitely use him in the passing game, and it's a good offense to have a running back in. So those are 2 flyers I'm willing to take on if you need some upside.
And I'm going to say really quick, as far as the Miami Dolphins backfield is concerned, keep an eye out for Salvin Ahmed. As long as Myles Gaskin is out, Jordan Howard just is not being trusted. The rest of the backfield is a mystery, but this guy's running hard, and he's definitely a guy that I would say is worth a look, worth a flyer this week if you absolutely need it, and is my breakout player. No, I'm kidding.
I know a guy starting him this week.
I don't think it's a terrible start. I don't think it is. But that's my opinion. Just wait and see. Watch when he scores 2 touchdowns, 113 yards, and a receiving touchdown too.
And Kalen Ballage is going to get his revenge today, huh?
Oh, yeah. Ballage with a revenge game against the Dolphins. That should be interesting.
See, the thing is with this game, it's a game you're going to want to be involved in because it's fantasy friendly, and these are 2 good offenses, which could potentially be a high scoring game. It's just that we don't know who that guy's going to be. But I think one guy from each backfield is definitely going to have a fantasy worthy game. We just don't know who it is specifically.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot, but we will wait and see. Now to move on, I believe it's time to start answering some of your questions. I had a lot coming in. And we are going to start Bud. Ginger asks, flex spot for PPR, Bernard or Juju?
That's really tough, but a thing that we spoke about earlier, volume, and Gio's going to get it regardless of what's going on there. And we know that he's going to be getting some passes also in PPR that definitely heightens his value. So I'm going to have to lean Gio here in this case. Juju just really hasn't proven anything in the last few weeks. I know he got a touchdown recently, but there's a lot of mouths to feed over there in Pittsburgh. So I would go Gio here.
All right, Bobby Javier asks Josh Jacob or Duke Johnson. On one other option is Leonard Fournette. You can start two of them.
I'm gonna bench Fournette out of those two. Because Duke and JJ are guaranteed more volume. Simple as that.
All right. So for the next one, Bud, we have Brandon who asks Edmonds, Drake, or Wayne Gallman have to start two, standard scoring.
Oh man. So yeah, that's pretty tough. I mean, if I almost want to say that if Drake's playing, you can start both of the two Cardinal backs. But I don't, I don't know how much work Drake is actually going to get. I've already expressed how I feel about Edmonds getting the work, the majority of the work if both play, and we're not really going to know until Drake tests pregame. I mean, if you want to get a little more variety, and we know Gallman is going to get a lot of volume, and this is going to be like a very tough offensive game between the Eagles and the Giants. You could go with him. So I mean, if you want to put the variety in, which is what I recommend, I've the only time I've ever started like two offensive players like that are in similar roles together side by side was Roddy White and Julio Jones back in the day. I started both of them every week and it paid off. But this is a situation that you really don't want to have to face. So I would probably lean Edmonds in that case and go Gallman just because, volume. So that's what I think on that one.
All right, Edmonds and Gallman it is. All right, Bobby. Casey asks Claypool or Cooks.
Man, if it wasn't weather in the Browns Texans game, I would say Cooks easily. Again, Bud talked about the Steelers wide receivers that you just can't really trust any of them. I still am going to go Cooks. He's been the wide receiver 9 in fantasy points per game since Bill O'Brien was fired. He's seen the most targets since that span of any Texans wide receiver. He's seen more than Will Fuller, and it is a pretty decent offense. So I'll still say Cooks here.
All right, Bud. Casey also asks choose two: Bernard, Davis, Fulgham.
I say Bernard, for sure. And I think Davis is probably a safer play for the other one, but Fulgham could be a really big upside pick because Alshon Jeffrey's coming back, and we know that Wentz likes to spread the ball around. But Fulgham's been proving time and time again since he's emerged pretty much as wide receiver 1 that he is capable of getting a lot of catches and making scoring plays. And the last time I believe that the Eagles and the Giants played each other, Fulgham was targeted in the end zone numerous times, but the defense was just so tough. But we know that he is able to create separation from these defenders. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets targeted in the end zone. So, I mean, I think he definitely has a higher ceiling than Mike Davis. But if you want to go safer, go Mike Davis. If you want to go a little more risky and the chance for the ultimate boom, then, Fulgham might be better in that case.
All right, I like it. All right, Bobby. Scott asks PPR flex. Are you ready?
Let's do it. I got my pen and paper.
Lockett at Rams, Thielen at Chicago, Antonio Gibson at Detroit, Josh Jacobs versus Denver, Robbie Anderson versus Tampa Bay.
And how many does he need?
Just one. He's already starting Henry and Connor, Keenan and Kupp.
Okay, just one out of those. I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett. I think he has a boom game in that fantasy-friendly game script there.
All right. So, Bud, we have Gary who asks, Melvin Gordon or Darrell Henderson?
I almost want to say Melvin Gordon here, just because even though it's mainly him and Lindsey. Lindsey's most likely going to be on a limited basis because he's just coming back from an injury again. But Daryl Henderson is also coming back from an injury. So with the was a thigh contusion, I believe, and we already know that Sean McVay doesn't know who the hell to give the ball to, and it could be Henderson, and we know usually it is a majority of Henderson. But what's not to say that something's not working against Seattle, and he's like, okay, well Henderson re-aggravated his thigh or whatever, and it's like, okay, we'll bring in Malcolm Brown. Oh, bring him Cam Akers. We're finally going to give him a try. So what's to say that doesn't happen? We know that Melvin Gordon is the main running back there, and he hasn't been super surprising or anything, but we know that he's going to get the work, right? So why even, try to go with Henderson in this case? I definitely go Gordon here.
All right, Bobby. Terrell asks, why is my prostate inflamed? I ask standard or PPR and have not gotten a response. So, Bobby will ask you this next one. Jan asks, do I play Baker considering weather in Cleveland? Mahomes on bye. Available on waivers are only Teddy B, Locke, Foles, or Smith.
I'm going to actually go ahead and add Drew Lock and get Baker out of there. I don't trust Baker anyway, and with the weather game and the run-heavy game script, I'd rather take Drew Lock, who they have a good matchup at Vegas, and they've been airing it out, especially if they're going to be in comeback mode. So, and the Vegas defense hasn't been anything special. So I would drop Baker, add Lock, and have him be your fill-in this week till Patty Mack comes back.
All right,
totally agree with that. I'm sorry to just jump in there, but yeah, Baker Mayfield is a little wild with his throws already, and if you go ahead and you throw the really crappy weather into it, it's kind of dicey. I would go for somebody that's a little more consistent, or even somebody that is playing in a dome.
I actually do like Locke a lot as a streamer this week. I think that he's a nice, consistent option who has been proving the stability more and more lately. So, yeah, I don't think that Locke is a bad fill-in pick, especially if you're going for stability. I think some of the other guys may provide you with more upside, but I say Locke's a lock. So, Bud, for the second part of that question, need 2 in half PPR. Robbie Anderson, Antonio Brown, DJ Dallas, John Brown, Slayton, or DJ Moore. You need 2 of them, half PPR.
Man, those are a lot of good options, man. Who is this? I'm gonna say John Brown. I'm already super high on him, and he's back and he's healthy, and we know that this is going to be a high volume offensive game, especially in the passing game. So I would expect him, and also this is a long overdue revenge game for John Brown against his old team. So keep that in mind. But also, did you say DJ Moore was in there? DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson?
That's correct.
Well, like I really want to say DJ Moore because a lot of people are very upset with his production lately, myself included. He only had 2 catches last week for 18 yards, but we know that he can get the volume, and he had it for the 3-game stretch. And even weird enough, all 3 of those games were 93 yards each time. I'm just seeing now, but he's had a few touchdowns during that stretch, so you hope that you could see that again. And we know that you can carve this Tampa Bay defense because we did see it last week, and it's dependent on if Teddy Bridgewater can really get going and get to his guys. And man, it's a toss up for me because Robbie Anderson usually has good games also. Myself, I would go either one of those guys probably, but I would probably go Moore.
All right, so John Brown and Moore. All right, Bobby, this next one is for you. From Derek, who asks PPR for flex. Nick Chubb or Evan Ingram?
I really have to think about this one.
Tough one, right? Evan Ingram,
Toughest
you said?
one all day. Nick Chubb, next question.
All right, Bud. Kirk or Robinson for wide receiver? Wait. Oh, yeah, okay.
Robinson.
Huh.
Robinson who?
I imagine Allen Robinson's the only one I could think of.
Oh, well, but there's also Denard Robinson.
Oh.
I would say it is most likely. it is most likely Allen Robinson. Who's the first one again?
Kirk.
So Kirk's been really awesome the last few games, and like been sneaky. I don't know why more people are not talking about this. I got a trade offer for my Zeke last night, and but I didn't take it. I did think about it, but Kirk's been pretty good, and I think he has a lot of opportunity in a game that we know is going to be pretty big. So in terms of offense, so
I guess maybe the big question would be whether or not you trust Allen Robinson to play, and whether you think Kirk is a good enough option to say I'm trusting him even if Robinson does potentially play.
Is Robinson's status still up in the air?
As of last I checked, he is still questionable, and he's a Monday Night Football, so that is a tough one to go into questionable. If I had to guess, I'd say he would play, especially since his injury status kind of came late and did not seem too severe. But
yeah,
I'm no doctor.
Yeah, so the only thing that really, besides the injury that worries me with Robinson is Bill Lazor stepping into the offensive play calling role. So we've kind of seen what can happen to a receiver when he steps into those shoes. And yeah, AJ Green rings a big bell, and it's kind of worrisome, and we don't know. But also, if his status is up in the air, I think Christian Kirk is going to be a sneaky, good, safe play, and a game that we're expecting a lot of points and a lot of passing from. And that's not to say that Allen Robinson is not a good wide receiver. We know he's great, but I mean, if you just, if you want to play it safe, I go Kirk.
All right. So we only have time for a few more questions, so we are going to try and run through these next one. All right, Bobby. Jordan asks, I need 2 flexes, Kirk, Rager, Shepard, or John Brown.
2 flexes. Yeah, you know what? Give me John Brown and Christian Kirk. Again, you want to have pieces in that game and in those offenses.
All right, Bud. We have Daniel who asks, Thielen, AB, or John Brown, PPR 1 flex spot.
Thielen, AB, John Brown. Take AB out. Because you have 2 other startable options. Man, that's really tough. And I'm trying not to be biased in terms of John Brown, but I really think that he has a better opportunity, but to have more points. But Thielen's been pretty much a letdown the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? I mean, 3 receptions, 2 receptions, not finding the end zone. So I mean, like in PPR, you're only looking at 4.5 points. So you kind of wonder what's
John
going.
Brown?
Yes, go. Sorry.
Oh, all good. All right, Bobby. Next one from Quad. Need to pick 3 full point PPR: Brandon Cooks, Fulgham, Tyler Boyd, Chark, or Deontay Johnson.
Cooks, Fulgham, Boyd, Chark, or Deontay.
Yeah.
And you need 3, so we're gonna go with Cooks, we're gonna go with Boyd, and we're gonna go with DJ Chark.
All right. Bud. Austin asks Robinson or Duke Johnson in the flex. You got to be clear with these Robinsons. I'm not answering this one. All right. Ori asks Ayuk. I can never pronounce this guy's name. Landry or John Brown.
Is that for me?
Yes, it is.
How many? Just one?
Just one.
John Brown.
All right. Going easy with Brown. All right. Devontae Adams or John Brown?
Adam.
I'm kidding. All right, Bobby. Joseph asks Watson in that weather or pick up Burrow or Teddy B. 6-point touchdowns.
In that extreme, don't overthink this. Go with Deshaun Watson still.
All right, bud. Flex Ruggs or Mooney?
Oh, I think Mooney is probably the better one here. Ruggs has been kind of lackluster the last few games until he starts getting more volume. I don't think he's really startable at this rate.
All right, Bobby. Start Ayuk or Curtis Samuel at flex today?
Yeah, give me Brandon Ayuk here.
Ayuk. All right. Bud, Woods, Lockett, or McLaurin?
Yikes.
Not a bad choice to have.
No. All 3 are good. I own all 3. I know them very well now. Man, that's really good. I'm going to go Lockett here just because the last time he played, we know that he's capable of having big games here, and I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth between him and the Rams. It's a divisional game, so I think Russell's going to try to light him up while DK is getting shadowed.
All right, Bobby, Rudolph or Tanyan?
Oh, man. That's I'll go with Tanyan, even though with the weather concerns there, but you got to go with Tanyan.
All right, Bud. Drop Jonathan Taylor. Pick up Mark Ingram. Yes, no, maybe?
No. We spoke about it earlier. You got to hold on to Taylor. Ingram, we know, isn't heavily involved. And, they're both in the same situation. But so you're dropping one guy to get right back into it. Like, just keep the guy that you got. Don't get involved.
All right, Bobby. John Brown or Brandon Ayuk?
Oh, that's actually a good one for me.
Am I getting better with the name?
Yeah, I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced either. I don't know.
You said it right, K-Mac.
All right.
You said it right.
Third time's the charm.
I think both guys are going to have good games, but I'll go with John Brown here because of I trust the offense and the quarterback better in Buffalo.
All right, and I think that's about time for our questions. Did just want to take one more moment to talk about John Brown since he's been coming up in so many questions today. But I know you're high on him, and I know both of us have mentioned on previous episodes of the show how important he is for that Buffalo Bills offense and how much of a difference it makes to have him in the lineup for Josh Allen. And he just seems like a completely different player when he has him, even when he isn't targeting him as much. So it is definitely good. Expect a lot of points to be scored in that game from both sides. And I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch. But talking about breakout players in this really smooth transition, we move on to our breakout player of the week. Thursday Night Football. Bobby, I think you won, right?
Yes.
And who was your breakout player from Thursday night?
Yeah, it was Corey Davis. He had 11.7 fantasy points. He was only projected 10.6, but everyone else, it wasn't a great week. So it's kind of an ugly win there.
All right, so for those of you who don't know, our breakout player of the week is when we project a player to get that much better than their ESPN PPR projections. We are going to start with John, who is here with us in spirit today, and his choice for breakout player of the weekend is Cordarrelle Patterson. And I think Bobby already discussed earlier how he does not like that pick at all, and he thinks that John is really bad at this. Those were his words, not mine.
Yeah, sure.
But Bobby, since you did win on Thursday night, who is your choice for the breakout player of the weekend?
I'm gonna go with the under the radar strategy in this week. I'm gonna go with KJ Hamler from Denver. I think they're gonna be throwing the ball all the time. Hamler saw 10 targets last week. He's an extremely fast guy. I think Judy is being overrated this week, and I think Hamler's in for a nice game. He's only projected 8.6. I'm willing to roll the dice on the upside there.
All right, Bud. And who is your pick for the breakout player of the weekend?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Bobby is. I'm gonna go with the under radar guy in Dallas Goedert, and
Love that pick.
I think that he's finally gonna break out and have a good game, and a game that matters to them, especially in terms of the division. He's only had one game back since injury, but we know that he's there. I picked him up off the waiver wire. He is now my starting tight end. I don't really have a choice. He's only projected for 9 points, but I think that he could easily exceed that, and I think this week is going to be the week for him.
All right, and for my player, I am actually going to go more John's route, who went with a hybrid running back, wide receiver kind of guy. I am taking a look at Curtis Samuel, and I feel that, you've seen with Christian McCaffrey out, he's really been seeming to shine these last few weeks, and especially with that running game when Mike Davis needs a break, Curtis Samuel is good to come in, good to score some touchdowns, and will be catching balls at all as well, so... be on the lookout for Curtis Samuel. That's my choice for breakout player of the weekend. Bet you weren't expecting that one, Bobby.
No, I actually really wasn't, man. I thought you were gonna go with with Josh Allen or one of the Dolphins, or maybe
Zach
one of the
Moss
guys
for
that
a
you had
fifth
on your
time.
team. But what's that?
Zach Moss for a fifth time.
Yeah, or Zach. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think with that, we do have time for a few more of your questions. So let me keep going down the list. Mo asks, and who do we leave off with? We had a John Brown question. So, Bud, this one is for you. Lose one. DJ Tark, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, or Scary Terry?
Lose one? As in drop one?
Well, I'm guessing just don't start him.
Oh.
Don't need to be so drastic.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a second. Don't drop these guys.
So drop Scary Terry?
Yeah. No. If you gotta bench one, I bench Kirk.
All right. So, Bobby, Lyle says, I've had some bad luck with injuries, so I'm left with running back Jamal Williams, Williams, Cole, Balaj for flex in standard. Should I play Balaj?
Williams, Cole, and Balaj, you said?
Yes.
Okay, I guess either Keelan Cole or Cole Beasley.
That is Keelan Cole.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so no. Yeah, I would go with No, wait a minute.
It's standard.
Okay, wait, Williams or Balaj, basically. Okay. I'm not a fan of Kalen Balaj. I don't think he's that good of a player. I know he had a decent game, and I know there's a potential revenge game narrative, but he's a plotter, man. I don't think he's a good player. He hasn't impressed me. I'm going to go with Jamal Williams because I think that he still sees a decent target share and snap share when Aaron Jones is healthy, and this could be a potential blowout, and you might see some garbage time from Jamal Williams. He also catches some passes, so I'll take Jamal there.
All right, Bud, you got to know this is coming. Edmonds, John Brown, Adam Thielen.
Wow.
I feel like you've had a version of this question like 10 times.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep going with John Brown.
Yeah, John Brown. All right, Bobby. Alex asks, Boyd, Cooks, Kirk, or Chark? Start 3. All right, so choose one not to start then.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Someone's calling
Someone's
me.
getting a
Wait.
phone call.
I'm getting my sources are telling me the answer for this question right here. Look, I'm gonna stand by it, man. I think Tyler Boyd's been a top 10 receiver. If you take out his bye week, he's been awesome in that high volume offense. I'm rolling with Boyd. I love Brandon Cooks this week, even with the weather. I told you that. I'm rolling with Cooks. And I am gonna go with. I'm sorry, it was Chark, and who was the fourth?
Kirk.
Kirk. Okay. That's also a tough one, too. I'm still going to go with Chark. I think he's just going to see more targets. He is going to have more volume. Kirk's been reliant on the big play a lot, which, again, it could easily happen in a great game for fantasy. But I'll take the volume and targets over that any day of the week. And the other three guys are going to definitely see a solid target share in each offense. And they'll be throwing as well. So I'll take those three, and I would sit Christian Kirk.
All right, bud. Bobby asks, Goff, Lock, Wentz, or Burrow?
Goff is going to be the obvious choice here. He's definitely the stream of the week in a game that we know is going to be a very favorable matchup for him against the Seattle defense, which has been kind of like wishy-washy. So you definitely want to get Goff in because he's going to hit all of his guys. He's going to hit Kupp. He's going to hit Woods. He's going to hit, who's the other guy? Josh Reynolds. So expect a big day out of him.
All right. And with that, I believe that we are out of time. So thank you for all of you for listening in, tuning in on our Twitch stream. If you are watching on the Twitch today, you do see a special surprise for Josh Allen's. Bud did mention earlier before the show that does symbolize Josh Allen's 400 passing yards that he's going to eclipse today. I like to think that they might also account for the 4 touchdowns he's going to be throwing today. But it could mean several other things. He'll probably get another rushing touchdown or 2. But yeah, big game out of Josh Allen today. I think that's all we got. So I appreciate you listening in. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow. Make sure to like, rate, review, all this good stuff. Follow us on basically any Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever you think of. Just follow us on there. And we will be... I was just going to lie right there and say that we were going to give a big giveaway for our 100th subscriber or whatever, but I don't even know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, we may be giving away something big if you follow us. So, stay tuned and subscribe. And anyways, we will be on next Tuesday. So, we will see you then. I am K-Mac alongside Bobby Digital Janice and Bud Stanio. We will see you next time.